Hey everyone, this is Echo. First, I want to apologize for being away from YouTube for nearly 2 months. Now, I always hear MRAs, they complain about violence done by a woman to men, and I always want to make a video to refute your statements. And at this time, I think it's a good opportunity for me to make this video. And I really can't help but make a video response to JohnTheOther's video, especially how he just blocked me from his channel. I wasn't trolling, I wasn't being aggressive. What happened was I posted a comment where I disagreed with him on a respectful level, and just because of that he blocked me. If he really blocks me just because I made a comment he doesn't agree with, it really proves how dishonest he really is. If someone was to constantly spam out their message board or say something that was way out of line, then yes, blocking would be necessary. But to block people just because they disagree with you, it's something that dishonest people do. They block people who have different opinions. As far as I'm concerned, JohnTheOther and Paul Elam are all the same when it comes to their dishonesty. Actually, it's common with every MRA on YouTube, in which that if anyone goes against their belief and posts a comment on their video, they automatically get blocked. Now, on to my main point, in which I couldn't get across on this video. First, I want to let everyone know that I'm against violence of any kind, whether it's against women or men. I think as a human race, our objective should be to reduce violence. But what MRAs like JohnTheOther, what they do is they take examples, like that game on Android, or they point out a few examples here and there of women assaulting men, and they depict it as if it's a national issue where women assault men. And that's just not the case. It's the other way around. I know I always face criticism when I say this, but the fact still remains. 95% of all domestic violence is caused by men, and yes, I do have sources. In fact, most men who are victims of assault were attacked by other males. Most women who commit murders, they did it in self-defense against abusive husbands. Now, I know a lot of men don't want to hear this, but I need to make it clear that this isn't being anti-male. If anything, it's being very pro-male and to better society. I don't want to get too much detail into this, but I recommend everyone to watch a documentary from Jackson Katz called Tough Guys, and this will explain more about this. Now, when JohnTheOther was complaining about the Android game, from his rationale, it would also make sense to complain about games like Grand Theft Auto, where players have the ability to assault women. In fact, plenty of games and movies out there condone violence against women, including sexual violence against women. If MRAs like JohnTheOther were all for equality, why don't they speak out against this? The only difference is that violence against women, including sexual violence against women, it's the real epidemic we face in society. But MRAs just seem to ignore this, and they shamelessly shift the issue around. I'm sorry, but when you visit a hospital, the chances are you'll see a lot more women who are victims of domestic violence than men. Now, as for that game on Android, I did check out the game, and it was a gender-neutral game. Just how you had the ability to assault the boyfriend using the girlfriend, you had the ability to assault the girlfriend using the boyfriend. I know JohnTheOther corrected this in the follow-up video, but he probably knew about this to begin with. And if he didn't, it just means he didn't look into the issue, in which that he just looked at it and wanted to use it as an example of women assaulting men. And it's obvious that MRAs like JohnTheOther, they'll take one thing, anything that involves a woman assaulting a man, and they're going to use it as an example and say that women are assaulting men across the United States. And honestly, it's another dishonest example of the men's rights movement. They like to point out a few examples here and there and try to use it as a whole nationwide issue. Here's the thing. The reason why it's a lot easier for violent women to get more attention than violent men is because any violence done by a woman is seen as a deviation from our cultural norm. Now, as a culture, it's more acceptable and more typical to see men as being violent. So when the media puts so much attention into a violent woman, including a woman who mutilates a male's genitals, people forget that all around the world, women are having their genitals being mutilated by men, and society supports it. As a matter of fact, sexual assault against women is a problem here in America, and many people, including MRAs, or especially MRAs, they just ignore it. Now, it all comes down to what is the real epidemic here. And the real epidemic is violence against women. It's not the other way around. But MRAs like Paul Elam, JohnTheOther, they hold society back because they know it's easier to point out violent women. And that's my problem. Paul Elam, JohnTheOther, that man-woman myth guy, all these MRAs, they're holding us back as a society.